Tropical depression located south of Indonesia on tonight's tropical weather bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical weather bulletin for November 19th. Around the world right now, the tropics are looking rather desolate, with only our tropical depression that was marked yesterday, 94S, still hasn't got a proper classification or indeed a name as it meanders eastwards away from Christmas Island. The Atlantic is looking extremely quiet with no areas of interest on day 172 of hurricane season. Is the end in sight? Well, we are only 11 days until the end of hurricane season, but we know what this ocean can show up with some surprises, so let's keep watching. In the Eastern Pacific, day 189 of hurricane season, and it would appear even less likely that we'll see anything develop here, although you can't fully rule out the Central Pacific when we get into the very late season and things forming close to the international dateline. In the Western Pacific, we have that one area of interest at 10%, which is located in the South China Sea now and is going to head towards southern Vietnam, and a 30% broad system in the Bay of Bengal that is still lingering. There's hardly anything of it on satellite though. And in the southern hemisphere, 94S still showing up a decent amount of convection, and from what we can tell, ASCAP passes suggesting that it may still indeed be a tropical cyclone, and it looks like it may still have a bit of a future yet as well. Let's check the latest satellite imagery in the North Atlantic then. This is what it looks like. There's a massive double line there of frontal system, and then dragging along all of that tropical moisture down on the southern part in the Caribbean Sea. Who knows, we might get something come out of this energy soon. In the Eastern Pacific though, things looking fairly quiet here as well. Another little band of thunderstorms there in the eastern part of the East Pacific, well to the south of Mexico, and a few other bits of moisture ballooning up in the northern part of Mexico into southern Texas today. Sea surface satellite imagery of the Western Pacific. Well, I don't know where I got that from, but this is what the Western Pacific is looking like, and a few little areas there, and you can see the on the left hand side there, the South China Sea, that lots of convection bubbling up there trying to get itself going. Not seeing much rotation, but certainly quite a bit of convection, which could lead to some very localized or local high rain amounts. Indian Ocean looking like this as well. Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, it's hard to see that little system there, but it does have a slight bit of rotation, and obviously you can see the southern hemisphere big burst there from our other tropical depression. But it is fighting against other little areas there to its north, mainly over the island of Java, Indonesia, which is giving it a bit of trouble and high wind shear environment by the looks of things in its whole area. Australia itself looking fairly quiet, a few thunderstorms in the north. Let's check the sea surface temperatures then at last. Jumped the gun a bit before. Pushing even still 30 degrees actually in one or two little spots there in the Eastern Pacific, south of Guerrero in Mexico. The Atlantic is still cooking quite a bit there in the Caribbean Sea, 28 degrees and higher, extending in through the loop current and also out to the Gulf Stream of the east coast of Florida. Along the coastline of the United States it's pretty chilly now, but out at sea those sea surface temperatures are still good. North Indian Ocean, this is what it looks like there. You can see it's cooling down a little bit along the Bangladesh and West Bengal coast, but in the main area there, still around 28-29 degrees Celsius. Southern hemisphere still looking decent as well, 26 to 28 degrees where that depression is right now. Western Pacific, 28, pushing close to 30 degrees in one or two spots there in the Philippine Sea, and actually reaching it on the western coast of Luzon. This basin rarely shuts down, and you can get some late season intense typhoons, which we can't rule out. It is above average in the Western Pacific there, particularly in the South China Sea. East Pac is pretty below average with the La Nina still clearly visible, and the Atlantic in the subtropics particularly, it is still above average in some areas, and the loop current is stronger than usual as well right now. Western Caribbean warmer than the Eastern Caribbean in terms of anomalies, and they've also got quite a bit of oceanic heat content still remaining. So Jamaica, Cayman Islands, up towards the western tip of Cuba, that is the most likely spawning point for any more cyclones we might get this year. East Pacific, still a few little spots there. Western Pacific dropping down a little bit, but still looking fairly decent over there. And if there was a track to be favoured, it would be a westbound track from Guam basically to the Philippines. Let's check the GFS for the next 5 days then, and these two systems struggle to get any momentum. That one in the Western Pacific even more difficult to spot than the one in the Indian Ocean, and I guess that's why we've got 10% and 30% chances respectively. Watch that loop again. It's very initial actually, that Western Pacific system there. Only has about 24-48 hours, so it might get tropical storm force winds briefly. Indian Ocean one has a little bit longer, but it never seems to get to tropical storm status. And here's the other depression, the actual only depression right now, actual tropical cyclone, set to continue as it moves eastwards and might even affect parts of Indonesia there, a rare storm to do that, and then it starts to drift southwards if there's anything left of it by the end of day 5, slowly drifting towards Western Australia. It will never get there though by the looks of things, certainly when we take a look at this model run, but maybe one or two little points where this system might just blow up enough convection to get back to tropical storm status for a brief moment. And this is a feature in the Caribbean Sea right now, out to day 7. Just want to point out a high potential for rainfall for Nicaragua and surrounding areas there. It's not likely to be a tropical storm, but this is something that is going to be bred out of general tropical thunderstorms and disturbances, which will deliver quite a bit of rainfall to these areas. You can see there the central part of Nicaragua could be a big flooding problem locally as rainfall amounts reach 19 inches, which is a lot. I'm trying to figure out how much that is again. That's over 400 millimeters of rain there, so that's something to be watching out for. And 6 inches further north along the border with Honduras, 150 millimeters. In the longer range, this is day 5 to 10, and I'm afraid we are looking at the Atlantic for this one because something does happen around Jamaica. Watch this, a little system right along the front there blows up over Jamaica and tries to become a tropical storm, and it does get some rotation going there. So does that become another significant tropical cyclone before the end of the year? Certainly possible, and this kind of area, that is definitely something that can be seen sometimes right at the end of hurricane season. 28th, 29th would be the forming of that system. Scan the barcode and you can take a look at Force 13's merch store, where we have all kinds of stuff for you, including our usual items, our Still Waiting for Hone t-shirt, and full season and individual storm animations at your request. Into the Scilly range then, and this disturbing trend of a tropical cyclone off the coast of Jamaica. It stalls there for quite a while, look at that, and then strengthens as it moves southward. Goodness me, what kind of a track is this? And there it is, becoming a major hurricane and going on to slam, or it looks like it's about to slam, into the coast of Nicaragua, bringing back unpleasant memories from other similar storms somewhat of 2 years ago. Jamaica really gets a bad deal there as well. I'd imagine a huge amount of rain, but that is extremely long range and something that we can't live by just yet. And this is the Western Pacific area, the area way out at sea, and just looking for potential small scale systems that try to develop. There's one near the end of this loop here, already into December by that point, a weak brief tropical storm that slowly gets on towards the west-northwest, towards the Northern Mariana Islands. But apart from that, really nothing else to look at in the super long range, so it's looking fairly quiet. Let's just hope that Atlantic system doesn't form. It would be really annoying. Well, Hurricane Week is coming up. We're now only 9 days away until the big start-up of our special week full of cyclone education, entertainment and documentary series, and loads of fun stuff for Force 13 fans. Well, on this day, on November 19th, 1977, look at that, we had two Category 3 cyclones active in the Indian Ocean. One of them in the Arabian Sea had a short-lived peak, and the other one, which was about to make landfall in Andhra Pradesh, became known as the Andhra Pradesh Cyclone of 1977, as none of the cyclones were named back then. A devastating storm that one was. I can't remember the death toll, but I'm sure it would have been in the tens or hundreds of thousands. It's one of the bad ones. And we also had Cyclone Aurora in the southern Indian Ocean as well, a tropical storm. Back to this year, and thankfully we're not dealing with two Category 3s at once, but we have Owen as the next name on the Atlantic naming list. It's Seymour in the Eastern Pacific, and it's still Hone in the Central Pacific. That joke's been going on for over 3 years now. Aren't you all sick of it? The West Pacific, the next name coming up is Pakar, and in the North Indian Ocean, it's Mandas. We're still stuck at 88 storms so far this year, just 4 off the annual average, but I'm sure we will get there. In the Australian region, the next name is Darian, the Southwest Indian Ocean, Chaniso, and in the South Pacific, it's Harley. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again tomorrow night.